Basically, the idea is we just had a look at these COVID safety plans that food businesses and recreational businesses, gyms and stuff, they have to fill out these PDF forms. But then one of the requirements for all those businesses is that they have to maintain records of patrons for contact tracing. And I mean, a lot of them will probably just straight away use paper forms and stuff. But if you wanted to do it digitally, we're like we could probably do that really well and do it in a really nice sort of relatively easy to build Canvas Power App. So we had this idea last week. So basically, I'm just going to do a quick run through of building that app. And this is kind of the completed app that we did last week. So all we have is we just kind of put in the logo from the form. We just have a bit of a header. This is to add a new form. We have a gallery here with checked in patrons. So you wouldn't have to do checked in and checking out, but I'll show as we're building it. If you wanted to just build an app where it's just the name and details, you could do that too. But adding in checking in and checking out is relatively easy to do as well. Then we just have a count of the patrons. You can press on the clock to check those people out. Then when you want to add a new one, you just go new, and then you have the details for the person here. Then you just submit that. Okay, so I'm just going to get started on that. And so we wanted to keep it pretty simple. So it's just going to be linked to OneDrive, Excel in your OneDrive. So all we're going to do is put in the columns. So it'll be the name of the person, the phone number, email address, and then again, completely like optional, but we'll put in checked in time and checked out time. So I'll just literally putting those columns into Excel. So it's pretty standard so far. And then I'm just going to turn that into a table. And say my table has headers. So then it will sort of format that as a table. And I'm just actually going to rename this table. So in Power Apps, you're going to be linking to this table. So I'm just going to change the name to patron tracing. And then I just want to save this into my OneDrive. So I'll just save that into my OneDrive, and I'm just going to call it patron tracing again. You could do this linked to something else like SharePoint, but we just wanted to keep it pretty simple for now. We just said we'd just do it at OneDrive, and most people know how to use Excel and stuff like that. So it's hopefully it won't be all this kind of stuff will be pretty standard for most people. So that's saved into my OneDrive now. Then I'm just going to go to Power Apps. You can go to powerapps.com and just log in. So that's basically all I've done to get here. And we have Power Apps licensing sort of set up, but you can get a free sort of community development environment where you can go in and sort of, I use it for building lots of different test apps and all that kind of stuff. So that's a good place to practice Power Apps and all that kind of stuff. But basically, I'm going to build it from that sort of demo environment for myself. I'm just going to go to apps, new app, build a Canvas app. And I just want to build a blank phone layout. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to just build this sort of header part first. And I'm going to put in an image. And I'm just going to sort of adjust these. I'm not going to be too sort of accurate with any of this kind of stuff. I'm just going to sort of do it so it looks right. And then I've just got this screenshot taken from that form I showed first. And I'm going to put that at the top. And then I'm going to put in a label. And this will kind of just be the header of the screen. And I will just make that slightly bigger, I think. And I'm just, before I do anything else, I'm going to actually change the theme. So the theme sort of defines things like font, font size, and color of controls as standard. So this theme's a little bit nicer, so I'm just going to change it to that. center the text, make it maybe semi-bold, and checked in patrons, add an icon. Actually, I will make the theme orange to match the logo. And I'm just going to change this so the height and the width are the same as this label. So it's kind of the same. And then I'm just going to change the padding. And the reason I do the padding instead of changing the height and the width is so that when you're, so all of that square now, see the icon square, if I hover over and if I press any of that, it will actually work. Whereas if you make the actual icon smaller, you have less of an area to press on your phone or wherever you're using the app. So it's usually better to make it smaller with padding instead of the height and the width. So I'll just sort of align those, won't get too crazy with any of that, but I'll align those, and I'm just going to group those all together and just rename that to the header. Okay, so that will be our header. Next, I'm going to add a gallery. Let's put it in as a blank gallery for now. And I'm just going to put that beneath our header. Then what I want to do is add our data source. See, these sort of navigation on the left, one of these down here is just for data sources. And I'm going to search OneDrive for business, and patron tracing the Excel file. I'll just click on that, and then it will show tables that we have in our Excel file. So then that's just the table that I created. Connect to that. And now for our gallery, I'm just going to reorder this a little bit. For our gallery, I want to connect that to our data source. So that's just connecting to our OneDrive. And I want to change the layout. And this is kind of just a quick way to use a gallery. You can just choose the default layouts, which I'm going to do now. So I'm going to choose this one. And then you can go to your fields. And what I want to use as the title is the name. So that'll just be the name of the person checked in. And I want to do the checked in time. So obviously I don't have any recorded yet, but that will show the name of the person and the checked in time. And we'll do a few examples and stuff, and we can see how that works. And I'm going to change this next arrow. So see, you have one property here for icon. I'm going to change that to, I think it's clock. So that will just be to check them out. And that obviously isn't linked up to check them out yet. So I guess I'll do that now. So seeing as I'm on it now, I'll use a patch function, and the patch function is just for updating a record, and the source I want to update is patron tracing. The record is this item, and this item is a property of the gallery. So that's referencing the specific row that I'm in. So this item is this row is basically what that's referring to. And then I want to put in these sort of squiggly brackets. And then in these squiggly brackets, I can sort of update a specific column. And the column I want to update is checked out time. And I want to set the checked out time to now. And if I just sort of maximize this formula bar, I can format the text and see it a bit clearer. So I want to patch patron tracing, which is my Excel table. The thing that I want to patch is this item, which is the thing I'm selecting in my gallery. And the column I want to patch is checked out time, and patch it to now, which is a function which basically gives you the time now. Okay, so that's basically it for the gallery. And then I'll just resize this a little bit. So we'll have our gallery around there, and then I'm going to put in a label down the bottom. I will again just sort of make this the full width, center align the text, And what I want to do is number of currently checked patrons. And then I can say, I'll just put a, and so count rows is a function where you can just count the rows of a collection or something like a gallery. So what I'm going to do is actually use the gallery. So we have like usually when I'm doing this, I'd actually rename everything as I'm going. So I'd have proper naming for all the labels and stuff I've put in. But just because I'm doing it sort of quickly, I'm not using the proper naming conventions for everything. But I'd usually do stuff like this for everything. It just makes it much easier when you're working with your app. So then I can just go gal checked in patrons dot all items. So that's just going to count the items in that gallery, which obviously now is 0. But then as we add patrons, it's gonna increase that. So in our app, I put in our logo down here. So you're free to build your own and put it in your own logo down there as well if you want. Basically the same way as we put that image in. You just insert an image and then you can just add a picture. But what I'm going to do next is the form screen. So we'll call this the home screen. And rearrange this a little bit. We'll just leave that for now. Okay, so then I'm going to add a new blank screen. And I will name this form screen. And on this icon, I want this icon to navigate to our form screen. So that's how we get from our home screen to our form screen, is using that plus icon. On the form screen, I'm actually going to grab our group, our header, copy this, and I just want to bring that all across to here. And realign that a little bit. And if I was doing the proper naming conventions again, I would usually do something like this. So it's group header form screen. And I just want to move this icon over to here because I'll have it as a back arrow instead. And I want to navigate to the home screen. Okay, so then we have our header, and now we want to put on a form. We just want to put a form in, so I will insert an edit form, move that beneath our header, and basically our data source will be the patron tracing data source again. Our fields will be, so I'm going to add name, phone, email, and checked in time. Add those. Make that a little bit bigger. And basically what we want to do now is I'm going to sort of format this form a bit differently. So I'll just move our form down. So we want our name and phone to always be filled out. So I'm going to unlock this data card. So when I unlock my data card, I can change some of the locked properties. So I'm just going to unlock that, and I'm going to say it is required. So by saying it is required, you'll get this little star next to the data card. And if you try and submit this form now, it will actually tell you this field is required. You need to fill it out before you submit the form. I'm going to do the same for phone number. But I will leave email. I'll leave email as optional, but I'll change checked in time, and I will unlock that as well. and I will change the data card value. So that's just the text input. I will change the default property of that to be the same function we used from before. So that will just get the time from the time now. And then I want that data card value to be display mode. So I just want it to, instead of having that still be editable, I just want that to be so that the user can see it, but they don't have to add in that checked in time themselves. So a thing you have to do with each form is you kind of have to initialize it, and I'm just going to put that onto the on visible property of this form screen. So what that means is when I go from my home screen to my form screen, then that means this screen is on visible. Then it's new form, form one. So that kind of starts this form. It initializes this form one. So then if you notice from before when I played the app, the form didn't show up, but now it does. That's because I hadn't used that new form function. So then you can see these fields are editable, and then this is just a view field. So it's not really meant to be filled in by the user. Okay, so I'm going to add a button, and this will be, again, I'm not going to get too sort of specific with the placings and stuff. If I was building this app myself, I probably would align things, and I'd have this spaced out a lot more specifically, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just sort of putting it together quickly now. So we'll just have that as the submit button. And then you can use this submit form function. And basically that will submit form one. And like I said before, if I don't have these fields filled out and I go to submit the form, it will say an entry is required for this. Please fill it out before submitting the form, sort of thing. So if I then start to fill it out, you'll see that the error goes away. So basically you'll have that kind of stuff built in with your forms, which is really handy. And the way this is now, this is actually basically a fully functioning app. So if I come in and I add in the details here and submit, it will actually submit to my OneDrive. It'll submit to that Excel file. I'll just make sure, if I'll actually close this Excel file, because if I go to submit when it's open, it will say it's locked for editing. So that's one of the drawbacks of using Excel in your OneDrive, is that you can't have it open at the same time as someone tries to submit from your Canvas app, from your Power App. But basically, this is a fully functioning app now, but I'm going to do a few more things to make it a bit more usable. And basically, I want to add a success screen. And what I'll do is click on this form. There's a property of the form on success. And if that is successful, I want to navigate to the success screen. And I'll just leave it like that. So navigate to the success screen. And I will just come to this success screen and say, yeah, I'll leave it like that, but I'm actually going to just move this down slightly. So yeah, we'll leave it like that. And then how we return from this success screen. So you complete a submission, it navigates you to here, but then there's no buttons, there's no nothing to navigate you back home if you want to submit another one. How I'll deal with that is I'll just put in a timer. I'm just going to put the timer for 2 seconds. And we'll say auto start. So the auto start just means it's going to start as soon as we land on this screen. I'm going to make it invisible and just move it down here. So that timer will then start, and then on timer end, I'm going to navigate back to the home screen, and I'm going to do a different transition, just a fade transition. So instead of just transitioning like straight away, it has a bit more of an animation with it. And then that should transition us back to our home screen like that just after 2 seconds. So you just kind of want to give the user an alert that it has been submitted, instead of just submitting the form and not really telling them anything. It's just helpful to usually tell, like at least give them some sort of notifying thing that their form has been successfully submitted. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just change the formatting, make this look a bit nicer. So I'm going to, I think I put the fill. So for this form, I'm going to change the background slightly. So this doesn't have any background now. So it's just white like everything else. And I think I put just a slight gray. So then it stands out a little bit more from the back of our app. I'm going to make the form a little bit bigger. I will, so how I had it set up in our app, this is all just up to yourselves now. If anyone wants to, however you want to format your app is up to yourselves. But all I did was I made the label not visible. I changed the size of this to, I changed the size of those to 460. I centered aligned those. And then I just put in a, so I'll move that like 10 up here and there. Center align. And just move this up. And I'll do the same for this. And then all I did was I replaced the labels with icons, just to sort of simplify the whole look of the app a bit. So I just had icons, and I'll insert. It doesn't really matter what icon you can insert because you can just change what icon it is after. And I'll just make this icon the same size and width as that, so I can line it up easier. And I'm going to put in some padding as well because it looks a bit too big the way it is. It's a little bit too much. We'll try it like that. And all I did was I just kind of searched up the built-in icons here was just what I was using. You can put in your own icons and stuff like that if you find better ones, but this is just a quick way to use the built-in icons. And basically I just want to put them in like that. I only really want those to be, I want to change the display mode to view, so it doesn't really act like a button and it's not really clickable or anything like that. So basically what we want to do is have that for one. I actually might make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, about there. So that icon, and then I'm just going to copy and paste in here. And again, I'm just literally aligning these by dragging these. You can use sort of the X and the Y coordinates here, and you can align them up exact. But it's much quicker to just drag and drop them for doing a quick app like this. And I'll put in phone. Email. Just paste that in again. And you got to make sure to paste those into the data cards. Make sure you're actually clicked into the data card. I haven't unlocked that one yet. So the reason that wasn't allowing me to paste in that was I hadn't unlocked this data card yet. And you can make certain changes, mostly aesthetic changes to those without unlocking those. But you can't change stuff like whether it's required, what's the default value, or putting in other other controls, like which is what I was just trying to do. So now it should paste the icon in. So yeah, for a lot of things, you have to unlock those data cards for it to actually work. Then I just want to, I think this one's just mail. Yeah, I'll just, again, if you wanted to, you could get different icons. And you can just, if you want to use different icons, you can actually use the image, and you can use basically any screenshot, any image you find, you can use them in your app as well. Checked in time, just paste that in as well. And for this one, I'll just use a clock. And the other thing that I did as well is those, and if you notice in these, in your form, in your data cards, so each data card, all the form does for you is automatically kind of builds you a form, but it uses everything that you can already use yourself in Power Apps. So if you look at these things, this is actually just a label. This is just another label. This is just a text input, and then you just have another label. So it's basically all existing things in Power Apps. And I just want to grab this label, and I'm just going to move it over to the other side. And yeah, I think I'll just leave it there. So again, I probably would align these a bit more exact if I was doing this myself with a bit more time, but for now it actually looks fine. So let's leave it like that, and I might change that. I might change that to the same color as these. I'll change it to the same orange color. Okay. So the other thing I would do as well is I'd get the same background color for that gallery. So I just grab it from here. And I'll just put that in our galleries fill property as well. And I think I might just do a test. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. One thing I will change actually is I want that checked in. I want that to be the same color so it doesn't look like it's editable. So I will just change that to be the same value as well. Okay. And now I don't need the email. That email isn't required. This was successfully completed. And then we go back, and then our gallery here. So just to sort of go back over that, our gallery here, which we set up at the beginning. Okay, so I actually forgot to do something there. So that is, this gallery now is showing all of our items from our Excel, from our Excel and OneDrive. So we don't want it to show all of our patrons. We only want it to show patrons are that haven't been checked out, basically. So the items property of that gallery, I want to come into this formula bar and I want to say filter the Excel table where the checked out time, we want to say checked out time, and then use this function in Power Apps is blank. And what that's going to do is basically filter our Excel table and see where the checked out time is blank, meaning they haven't been checked out yet. And then how we check those people out is one of the first things we did is we, in this gallery, we just press this clock icon, and then it will check those people out with the time now. So it just sort of automatically will record the time for you whenever you press that. So I might just record one more. And I'll put in for this. And submit that. So then you can see we have our number down here as well as being incremented. And then we have our two test patrons checked in. And I'm just going to test this now as well. So see, this actually, as I hover over, you can see it says view item details as well, which is just kind of a leftover thing from the gallery being pre-filled out. So that's the tooltip here. So if you wanted to, you could just change that. The only time that's actually going to apply though is on PC or laptop or whatever when you have a mouse. So if you're using this app on your phone, obviously tooltips don't really apply. But you can pretty easily go in and change that, and you can just change the text here. So you can just change that to whatever you want, or you can just get rid of it. But basically, I'll just go in and I'm going to check out this person. So then that will go and that will patch the Excel, and it will put in a time for checked out time. And then this gallery will then, it will remove it from this gallery because this is only showing the people who haven't been checked out. And now I just want to show the OneDrive Excel. So sometimes this takes a second to update. So when I open it first, it might not have all the stuff in it, but I'll just close it again. I'll close it and reopen it, and then usually it updates. Sometimes with OneDrive, it just needs to refresh. Okay, so then we have the name, phone, and you can see the phone number is actually getting rid of that 0, and that's just how the column is formatted. So what I want to do is I just want to change it to like text, and that is from now on it should once that updated. Yeah, so I just want to change it to text, and then if it thinks it's a number value, it'll actually get rid of the 0. So you just want to make sure it's text so it doesn't get rid of that 0 in front of the phone number, which might not matter that much, but just if you want to have them exactly how someone typed it in. And then we have the email if it's been recorded. The Power Apps ID is just an automatic column that the Power Apps will put in, just to have a unique ID. Checked in time, so that's just coming from our app. That's just coming from when we record the form. That's just the now value that we put in. So that's the default now value. That's where that's coming from. When we submit it, it records that. That's where that's coming from. And then the checked out time is in that gallery where we press the button. So that's pretty much the whole app. And that's the same app I showed at the beginning, but I just built it there in roughly half an hour. The only difference is that we had our own our logo down the bottom as well, which you can pretty easily add in, and maybe realign those a little bit. But if you wanted to add your own logo in, all you'd have to do is add a new image file and put in your logo like that.
Okay, right, Eric, you can probably stop recording.
Yeah.
So the recording as well.